The siege camp fell into an eerie silence. The Hittite soldiers were very tired after long months of campaigning. But it was not merely the weariness from endless marches and the absence of restful sleep that cloaked the camp in quietude. An officer had very bad news to relay to the king, and rumors were spreading like wildfire. The mighty battering ram was destroyed during the last attack. The warriors had lost the key weapon to conquer the city of Urshu. This would make winning the siege way harder, and the officer knew that King Hattusili would not be happy at all. The soldiers had faithfully trailed behind their king Hattusili, journeying from their homes in Anatolia to Yamkat, present-day Syria. A golden opportunity for a swift campaign presented itself when the king of the city of Alalak defied his overlord. Seizing this advantage, Hattusili and his army quickly launched an attack on Alalak, exploiting its political isolation from the rest of Yamkat. However, upon withdrawing from Alalak, King Hattusili made the fateful decision to pillage every city encountered on their homeward path. Now they stood before the towering walls of Urshu, and everything had gone awry. King Hattusili needed to refill his coffers, as he had just completed a huge and costly project, the resettlement of the ruined city of Hattusha. But the Hattusha project wasn't his main concern. He faced a significant challenge to his authority that demanded a definitive resolution. The city of Sanahita had revolted many years earlier, and despite his attempts to re-establish control, he had been unsuccessful. The rebellious regime in Sanahita posed a grave threat to his position of power. These were the reasons for the Syrian campaign. Hattusili needed full coffers to strengthen his authority at home. But something had gone wrong during the siege of Urshu. The king's warriors had broken the battering ram. This made King Hattusili grow more and more frustrated. My name is Sarah. Welcome to the Mists of Time. Inside the tent, the king was furious. But he soon recomposed himself and began planning how to defeat Urshu. He issued orders to his officials, and eventually the city was conquered. Urshu was looted and set ablaze. While this victory could have been seen as a minor achievement in a successful military campaign, it actually laid the groundwork for future conflicts. The kingdom of Yamkat, which Hattusili regarded as a formidable enemy, was inhabited by an ethnic group known as the Amorites. On the other hand, the people of Urshu belonged to another ethnic group called the Hurrians. In close proximity to the city, there existed a small confederacy of Hurrian kingdoms. Witnessing the slaughter of their brothers and sisters in Urshu, the Hurrians swore to seek vengeance against Hattusili. Hattusili's goal was mainly to understand if he could expand his control toward the immensely wealthy lands of Mesopotamia and solve his financial and political issues. But with his campaign, he made new, powerful enemies. King Hattusili and his army were now back home from Yamkat. He underestimated how much the Hurrians were angry at him, and he started preparing a new military campaign in Arzawa. This region was located in western Anatolia, and it was a patchwork of small kingdoms. In Arzawa, the Hittite soldiers seized cattle and sheep, but the campaign was abruptly halted. A messenger arrived at the military camp with an urgent message for the king. A crisis had erupted back home, posing a significant threat to Hattusili's kingdom. In the king's own words,
"In my rear the Hurrians entered my land, and all my lands made war against me. By now only the city of Hattusha, one city, remained loyal.
Taking advantage of the king's absence from Hattusha, the Hurrian Confederacy saw an opportunity to exact revenge for Ursh. Hattusili swiftly withdrew his army from Arzawa and marched to confront the enemy. But the Hurrians declined the challenge. They retreated to their homeland, carrying with them the spoils of their rich plunder. The Hurrian invasion had encountered no resistance, resulting in a severe erosion of the king's authority. Hattusili faced the looming danger of being forgotten, like countless other kings of the past. This invasion acted as a catalyst, sparking a chain of rebellions as local nobles perceived an opportunity to shake off Hattusha's control over their cities. The kingdom of the Hittites was now in a full-fledged civil war. From his power base in Hattusha, King Hattusili had to re-establish his control over many rebelling cities. It was evident that the local nobility had anticipated the demise of Hattusili's authority. However, when the king's army marched toward them, it was clear that they had miscalculated the political situation. Their only way to ensure their survival was to surrender and hope for the king's mercy. One after another, the rebellious cities reconciled with Hattusili's rule. But the city of Olma chose to resist. The forces of Hattusha and Olma engaged in two brutal battles, with Olma suffering defeat on both occasions. Such defiance could not be tolerated. Hattusili resolved to turn Olma into a stark warning for any who still harbored thoughts of rebellion. The city was reduced to ruins. The king strictly forbade any attempt to resettle the devastated city. Ironically, Hattusili's reign started with him rebuilding the cursed city of Hattusha, only to end up with him dooming another city himself. With the rebellion suppressed, Hattusili's authority remained significantly diminished. He could no longer tolerate any further challenges to his rule, making it crucial for him to eliminate his long-standing enemies in Sanahuita, whom he had tolerated for many years. Despite enduring a long and arduous siege lasting 6 months, the walls of Sanahuita were eventually breached. The city had previously rebelled against Hattusili's grandfather. Now all the lands claimed by the Hittite king fell under his control. Taking advantage of his recent victory, Hattusili removed all the disloyal noblemen. Whoever had aligned themselves with the Hurrians was sidelined. This purge ensured that his rule was consolidated. Any potential threats from within his ranks were eliminated. Indeed, these disloyal noblemen had anticipated that Hattusili's authority would be short-lived, but he defied their expectations. The king had successfully regained control over his lands, but he remained dissatisfied. You may be wondering if Hattusili was a very bloodthirsty king, but he was actually a very practical man. It's just that a constant state of war was the tool he needed to achieve his goals. 2 primary motivations drove him to meticulously plan a new campaign of conquest. Firstly, there was the necessity of securing access to the international tin market. Without it, no bronze could be made. Previously, the acquisition of this crucial metal relied on merchants from the city of Ashur. However, with the collapse of the Assyrian trade network, looting and enforcing tributes became the main means to ensure a steady supply of this strategic resource. The rule was quite simple. If you can't buy something, then take it by force. Secondly, the ideology of kingship played a significant role in motivating Hattusili's ambitions. It was essential for him to demonstrate military prowess and expand his kingdom through conquest. These goals became integral to reinforcing the legitimacy of his rule. In fact, noblemen and warriors who joined the king's military expeditions stood to gain substantial wealth. The redistribution of the spoils of war offered an opportunity for significant personal enrichment for any loyal warriors. With these goals in mind, he finally embarked on a new Syrian campaign. He crossed the mountains and once again reached the borders of the kingdom of Yamkat. The last time the Hittites had invaded Yamkat, the country was in political turmoil and its king wasn't able to properly defend his domains. But this time, the war was brutal. Hattusili's primary target was the city of Hahum, renowned as one of the crucial trading centers in the region. It held immense significance for Hattusili's goals, and capturing it became a paramount objective of his campaign. Yamkat posed a formidable threat, so Hattusili's campaign had to be meticulously planned. He forged alliances with local political actors, such as the small kingdom of Tikunami. The king of Tikunami saw the Hittite invasion as an opportunity to reshape the political landscape. His goal was to exploit Hattusili as a means to destroy his local enemies. You know, Bronze Age diplomacy was more complex than one can imagine. The Hittite army successfully crossed the river Euphrates, and so it became evident that Hattusili had achieved a resounding victory. The king made sure to document this achievement in great detail. He emphasized that only the legendary Sargon of Akkad had accomplished a similar military feat some 700 years prior. Hattusili had now his place in history as a conqueror of remarkable prowess. The city of Aleppo was still standing. Hattusili had humbled the Syrian lords, but they had yet to be defeated. His victory was a prestigious one, but incomplete. The Hittite king, undeterred by the strength of his powerful neighbor, once again embarked on a campaign to subdue them. He boldly proclaimed, "I cause the days of Aleppo to be full." The Hittites engaged in countless skirmishes and small-scale battles along the Hittite-Syrian border. Eventually, Hattusili led a large-scale expedition against the city of Aleppo itself. However, the great king who had transformed a small Anatolian kingdom into one of the most influential powers of the Bronze Age sustained a severe injury. Hastily, he was transported back to Hattusha, where with his waning strength, he summoned a nobleman from across the kingdom to his court. What he was about to reveal would shock them all, for it would be his final will, and it wasn't the one they had expected. I hope you enjoyed this video. Next time, we will explore who will succeed to the Hittite throne. But if you're interested in another Bronze Age conqueror, check out this video.